Greetings, friends. Welcome to our Sabbath School lesson study. Today we are on lesson number 5, and the title of our study is Excuses to Avoid Mission. To get into this study, I have got some friends here whom I'm going to ask to introduce themselves. My name is Obed Kwacha.
Greetings to you all. My name is Begilizwe Maposa.
Hello everyone, my name is Mtutu Zikwebe.
Greetings to all our viewers and listeners. My name is Nomsa. Can we bow our heads as we pray? Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before your throne. We thank you, dear Lord, for bringing us and convening us to this discussion. As we are going to go through it, dear Lord, we invite your Holy Spirit to lead us, and may he also help and interpret to those who will listen to the recordings that will continue to be available to them as they listen, as they watch. May they hear you speak to them and be elevated in their relationship with you. We pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Yes, so as I said, in my introduction, this week we are on lesson number 5, and it's talking about excuses to avoid a mission. Remember, this quarter we are looking at mission, and our focus today will be in the book of Jonah, mostly. But we are free to derive lessons from another chapter of the Bible. So let's start by reading our memory text. Then we can just comment briefly on the memory text. Our memory text is from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. Anyone to read for us?
Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8.
Yes.
I'm reading from the TNIV. Says, Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me.
So this is Isaiah. When he heard the voice that who will go for me, he says, Here I am, send me. So at the end of this lesson, I hope we are going to be able to put aside all excuses. And the only answer that we'll give when the Lord says, Who can I send? Will be, Here I am, send me, Lord. I don't know if there is any other insight on our memory text.
Yeah, the compliance there by Isaiah for me is a huge challenge or a big encouragement. The question was very specific as to what God required of the person that would need to be sent. It wasn't just a matter of whom will we send, but there's also that additional where God says who will go for us. So we have a mission. God is saying we have a mission. So who will go for us in this mission? It's not just being. It's not a matter of so much of being sent. Also, there's a mission that should be.
I like the us part that you are bringing up. That we are going on behalf of the members of the Godhead.
All three.
So the one who sends you on a mission normally provides and makes sure that whatever that
is needed for the mission.
Yeah, I think that's very key.
Yes, and also I note that the memory text is some kind of a question and response from Isaiah.
Yeah.
Who in his own right was a prophet. And then the bulk of the lesson is taken from Jonah, who also is a prophet. And from the memory text and the rest of the story, we are seeing two contrasts. In terms of the responses. Of course, Jonah will then finally obey, but having found ways of trying to do things in a different way than the original calling. Unlike the Isaiah's response, first time, an instant response, he goes. So I think the fact that these two were prophets means that the calling coming to us, we could seemingly be at the same level, whether it's our spirituality, same denomination, with the same message. But this lesson goes on to show that the responses are going to be different, and we want to track those responses and at the end of the lesson come up with the more appropriate response that is expected from us.
Okay, that's interesting. So a prophet speaks on behalf of God. And all of us, at some time, we are asked to speak on behalf of God. So we find two people, two prophets. One is ready, the other one ended up ending obeying under duress. Anyway,
so probably even if it's not recorded in Jonah, that the question was, whom shall I send? Who will go for us?
Okay.
Probably that's
Probably
that's the question that was asked of Jonah.
Okay.
And probably the question that's being asked
even to us. Okay, let's get into the book of Jonah and enjoy this story. So we'll start by reading Jonah chapter 1, verse 1 to 3. Then we look at the background to this story, where Jonah is being sent. Maybe someone to read?
I'm reading from the King James Version.
Yeah.
Chapter 1, verse 1. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord.
Okay. Yeah, I know the way this story is narrated. Within the first few verses, you would have been told a lot about Jonah. But I want us to look at the way that the message is coming. It's saying, "Go to that great city." It sounds like Jonah is not expected to be a stranger. It's unlike you when you are told, "Go to Abidjan." Probably you don't even know where it is. You start asking, where is Abidjan? But Jonah is being told to that great city. So he's sent to a place that he knows. Maybe for perspective, let's read a few texts that are given here so that we get a snippet of how the city was. Nahum chapter 1. There are so many verses. Maybe our viewers, you can read part of them, but let's read 3 of them. Nahum chapter 1, verse 1. And chapter 3, verse 1 to 4, and someone to open 2 Kings, chapter 17.
Yeah. I'm on Nahum chapter 1, from the TNIV, Nahum chapter 1, verse 1. A prophecy concerning Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum, the El Koshite.
Okay.
So
he's a prophet who's prophesying to Nineveh. Yes. Yeah.
Then Nahum chapter 3, verses 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Woe to the city of blood, full of lies, full of plunder, never without victims.
Okay.
The crack of whips, the clatter of wheels, galloping horses, and jolting chariots, charging cavalry, flashing swords, and glittering spears. Many casualties, piles of dead, bodies without number, people stumbling over the corpses. All because of the wanton lust of a prostitute, alluring the mistress of sorceries, who enslaved
it's a scary scene that we are getting about this city, especially when it says that there were bodies that were lying in the street and people were jumping. It's just like you're jumping over mud when it has rained, and people were jumping over bodies thrown all over the city. Let's read 2 Kings, then we make a comment about the state of this city.
2 Kings,
chapter 17.
And what verses are we reading, sir?
15 and 16, I think. Is it 15?
5 and 6.
5 and 6, okay.
Oh, 5 and 6. Yeah. I have here the New Living Translation, and it says, 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 5 and 6. Yeah. Then the king of Assyria invaded the entire land, and for 3 years he besieged the city of Samaria. Verse 6, finally in the 9th year of King Hoshea's reign, Samaria fell, and the people of Israel were exiled to Assyria. They were settled in colonies in Hala, along the banks of the Harbor River in Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
Okay. Now, we have heard how the city was, and here we are just being told that Israel was captured into this city at some particular time. So Jonah is being sent with all this in mind. I want you to help me. I think it was justifiable to try to run away, because imagine, we're talking about bodies thrown all over the city, blood all over. It were flashing swords.
We see a ruthless people,
Yeah.
and a city that is full of wickedness. you can't even call it evil, but it's now wickedness.
Yeah, it's wicked.
And Jonah is being sent to such a place.
Okay.
And it's really, one could say, yes, he had reason to be afraid. He had reason to be fearful.
Yeah.
But then we look at the God that is sending him.
Okay.
Because if he understood that he was being sent by God himself,
Yeah.
who promises to provide everything,
Yeah.
including protection. I've read of missionary stories, of missionaries who have gone to the South Pacific Islands where there is cannibalism, and they went anyway.
Okay.
Knowing that being a foreigner and a stranger, it would have been so easy for them to be eaten. But they went and they spread the message.
Yeah.
So I know from where I stand,
Yeah.
I might sound like I'm judging Jonah.
Yeah.
Because I ask myself to say, if I was also asked to go to a place where I know these kind of threats are real,
Yeah.
would I go? Even now, as I'm speaking, I'm not sure of my answer.
Yeah, because just imagine you go into a new city. Let's say we are in Zimbabwe, you go just down south, you go to Joburg. And the moment you drop off the bus there, you are marked. All your things are taken away, including your clothes.
Yeah, because for your own personal business,
Yeah.
you are afraid to go to a city like Johannesburg from Zimbabwe. So I can imagine and I can understand to a degree why Jonah. But also add the element of the captivity of Israel as well.
Okay, yeah.
That he's also now, they've also now become a personal enemy as well.
Because
the things that they've done to my people.
They took away your people, including your God. Remember,
yes.
Remember, by that time, if you narrate from the story of David and Goliath, the thinking was that if you are defeated, it's not only you, your God has been defeated. So this same God is coming and say, going there, but you are the same God who allowed our forefathers to be taken into captivity by these people. You want me to go there and preach to them? I'm trying to magnify the extent to which this presented to Jonah. Yeah.
So I'm actually, as you speak, as you was relating the understanding of the verses, I'm just tempted to imagine and think how even in Africa we have been at war for most of the time. If it's not this country, it's that country. If it's not that country, it's this country. And usually those wars are fought. Yes, they may have underlying political reasons, but they seem to be fought across tribes more than anything. And when God sends people on his mission, God usually seems like a troublemaker, pardon the expression, because he will send you to an unfriendly people or to a people that ordinarily you wouldn't want to have a relationship
with. Okay.
And we're still, it's not just a relationship about earthly things. God is sending us, in this case he was sending Jonah, but he's sending us to a people that maybe you don't even wish heaven for because of all these other circumstances surrounding our lives and surrounding our differences because of maybe our tribal backgrounds, our linguistical backgrounds,
the history of
colonialism, for example. Yes. It has given people a certain frame and dimension of thought, and yet still God's question is pertinent and is being given or asked to us. Who shall I send?
Okay.
Who will go for us? And we are being made to go to those people that this is not imaginary, Kwacha. This is what is a lived experience of many Christians, that you find you have to relate to people that are not really your cup of coffee, as it were. But you have to relate with them with a saving message to say to them, there's a God who wants you in his heaven. And you need to, maybe for some of us, the burden will be lighter maybe we're not so convicted. But Jonah knew the kind of God that he was dealing with.
Okay.
Jonah knew this God. If I send the message across, this God is going to act on these people's behalf and pardon them and give them all the glory that I've been preaching to all these other good people. But these people are not deserving.
Okay.
How many times have we thought other people not deserving? Yeah. And that has been an excuse for.
Okay. Gueva, I want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I want you to think like Jonah. What are some of your fears in going to Nineveh?
Whatever the Nineveh is.
Yeah, whatever. Or then, before we come to today, if you were Jonah then, what could be some of your fears?
Okay, I think I would have been more or less along those lines, but maybe more on the present day. But let me start with Jonah.
Okay. Yeah.
We were talking about Assyria. I think, wasn't Assyria a kingdom at that particular point?
It was.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
It actually besieged before Babylon.
So when you're talking about Assyria and Nineveh being the capital city
capital of that,
of Assyria at that time.
Yeah.
So it was a huge calling.
Yeah.
Right? And even the message that came to Jonah, it said that great city.
Yeah, the greatness is emphasized.
Mark the emphasis, that great city of Nineveh.
Yeah.
So, apart from the city being great, the city was bloody, as we have already been told. Actually, it's figuratively compared to a cruel, ravenous lion.
Yeah.
So most of the times we're quick to judge Jonah. Probably bringing aspects like arrogance in his refusal, in his initial refusal to go to Nineveh. But now, with this background in mind, you could then sense an element of fear.
Yeah.
He could have been arrogant, but he was also afraid. Looking at the background of the city that has just been highlighted to us, where corpses were all over the streets, and so he was afraid of being one of the statistics of the corpses lying high. So then looking at that, also the other aspect of fear could be coming out of the greatness of the city. There's an element of the environment being intimidating.
And you are just from this small city, you feel the inferiority.
It's just like in our scenario, it's taking with due respect to the preachers coming from, say, the communal areas, but at times it's a challenge. I grew up in the rural areas. When you're getting into the city for the first time, it's a whole different environment altogether. Imagine then, even this society considers the status of people living in cities and those living in rural areas in a different way. So it's like the town folk status is kind of elevated. So when you're coming from out there, too many things become new, and you've got to be sending a message that the people who are deemed by society to be more affluent than you are have to listen to. So that could have been the other aspect.
So we notice I just wanted to emphasize the point that we have highlighted. It's just like today you are told to go and preach to Washington, D.C., and you are coming from Africa. You are wondering, are they going to even listen to me? So there was the issue of feeling inferior. There was also the fear of death itself. You will be one of the bodies that people are trying to jump over. And then you are saying these people, like you said, if you go into the rural areas, there are places where when they see a white man, they run away. Because what comes to their mind is the time this guy was here, something didn't go very nicely. So it's that kind of a background that we are finding Jonah here, where he's being told. I think sometimes we are quick, like you said, to think, Jonah tried to run away. But we'll come to it. But actually Jonah left He was told to leave. He left and he went somewhere. At least the only problem is he directed where he wanted to go, but at least he left.
And he also had to address the king.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the ordinary Assyrian folk, but he had even the palace. He had to go to the palace. He needed to go there and send the message.
That's
the
true.
head of that ravenous lion.
Yes.
And I think also the other element is, you remember there is an incident where the Assyrians were camping around Israel. And then the God of Israel brought an angel that slaughtered 18,000 of the Assyrians. So even the God who is sending Jonah to that city, he's an enemy of the Assyrians because of what he has done to them on behalf of Israel.
And now we are going to speak on behalf of that God. Now I want us to, this story is becoming exciting. I want us to look at our today. What are some of the fears that we have? And then I also want to say, how can we overcome such fears? We are not talking of fears that are imaginary, like you put it. These were real because the city was known. It was there all over on CNN.
I mean, there was a preacher who was doing some preaching at our church during the last 2 weeks. And he talked about the witchcraft that they experienced when they were preaching at some rural district in Matabeleland North. And I mean, when you listen to such stories, and then the call says, I should also go there. That is very scary. I mean, these are real things that you know. And when somebody, I mean, is telling you that you will see little people coming into your room at night, and
you're being told to meet those small people
that you can't even describe. So those are some of the realities. And in Africa, that's for us here in Africa, that is a reality. And there are also mystics in other parts of the world as well. But also the other element of, the differences in level of affluence. You feel so small that you're like, what am I going to tell them? They will say, I worship God because I'm poor. They don't have to. They don't need to. And you look at, countries also.
You don't understand some of these things.
There are countries where Christianity is outlawed. A Christian is caught with a Bible. They are sent to the firing squad. How do you go to a country like that?
Now you've brought out something probably that will then, I don't know, maybe we'll discuss it later, to say where does my own strategic planning come into play? Say, should I just go to Nineveh when I know I could be a statistic?
So probably, maybe just to quickly try and answer that before I give my own perception of what fears we may have now. Maybe as long as we are able to understand whose mission it is, and as long as we are able to relate to an experience that we have had with the one who gives this mission. She mentioned something which changed my perspective somewhat. When she said that this same God had slaughtered 18,000, you said. So this God who is sending Jonah to this dangerous city is not a God who is without capabilities.
Jonah should know that story.
Jonah should know that story. So if Jonah is being sent to this dangerous and cruel and wicked people, Jonah should know that the one who is sending me is able, and maybe have the thinking like the 3 Hebrew boys to say, he is able, but in his being able, from time to time, he elects not to do certain things. And I'm happy with that. I'm still fine with that. Maybe that would still be the same.
If I were to put myself in with probably some listeners and some who could be watching now, I think that's our problem, that we are not prepared for even if. We would want it given. That,
guaranteed,
that in the fire I'm not going to burn. So probably to Jonah, he knew all that, and maybe that's an answer to what we've to that. He expected, and he was saying to himself, I know this God can revenge, but I will be a statistic.
I won't even be there to see him revenging.
Yes, I won't be. So maybe that's one reality that we have to face, that in this mission it may go
Yes.
the other way around.
But I'd also wanted, maybe for
Okay,
it comes
yeah.
in, if you let me.
Yeah.
I'd also wanted to respond to your initial question about
Yeah.
the fears that we
have and how to overcome
and
them.
how to overcome them. Yeah. I think in our world today, we also fear losing privilege.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm trying to find the right words.
Yeah.
But there are certain messages that we dare not say because they'll offend people that ordinarily give us privilege, as it were. These may be people that are political elites. These may be people that are economic elites. These may be people that have some advantage over us in one way or the other. And we fear and will make excuses to say, how do I approach so and so and tell them about this message? Because this message is an affront to their way of life. And if I dare do that, then I also risk being seen as their enemy, or I
lose the privileges.
I risk losing the privileges. So those are some of the fears that we may have. And I mean, they are reasonable and founded fears, because the benefits that we get from these so-called enablers of our prosperity even may be so huge when we look at the immediate benefits in the here and now.
I want us to move to the next stage. Maybe you come in there. But I just want to summarize what you guys are saying, is that sometimes there are fears that seem very realistic, at least from a human point of view, that you can even convince yourself and God that this is justifiable. I can't go to such a city. Why don't you find me another city that is better? But the best way to do it is to look on God, to also look at what God has done in the past. And be prepared to say, even if, I think if we approach it with that way, it will be good. I want us to move a little bit further on what happened in the story. Remember, we are focusing on the story of Jonah, but we don't want to focus only on one chapter. What happened after? Maybe without reading, someone can narrate to us what happened when Jonah...
Well, we see a storm. Now that Jonah has run in the opposite direction, he gets into a ship. Then there's a storm, and the storm, in the storm, he's sleeping somewhere until these guys who are in charge of the ship find him and say, "How can you be sleeping?" And eventually they cast lots. It is found that Jonah is the cause, and the conversation goes on that eventually Jonah concludes by saying, "Throw me over the ship because I'm the cause of all of this." And when he was thrown overboard, goes into the sea, he doesn't die, a fish swallows him. For 3 days, he's in the ship, fish's belly, and he's praying.
Jonah had a view about God. We call it a worldview. And that worldview somehow affected his acceptance of mission. I want you to make a comment on that, but more importantly, I want us to say, what are some of the worldviews that we have, our views about God, our understanding about mission and the like, that can be a hindrance for us getting into mission?
I think in this incident, we see eventually he realizes that God has saved him, simply because he really wants to save the people of Nineveh. But also, I think the other thing that comes in that we see is the limited boundaries that Jonah is putting God in, where he's thinking that maybe Jerusalem is the only place where God can really be effective, and he's got people that he loves. And also, I think we have a tendency, even when we are raising our children, we reprimand them for being seen standing with certain kind of boys in the corner of the street. And so at the end of the day, you ask yourself, how then can they be missionaries to those people? If we are saying, don't go there because these people are like this, like this, like this. So we once we have accepted God, we think he belongs to us only, and nobody else.
So would that speak also maybe to some kind of denominationalism, like maybe thought that my
denominational pride,
my denomination only, my denomination. Maybe that's also one of the pitfalls, as it were, or worldviews that we may have that can affect how we then go on to relate or to execute mission. Because it then mission at some point then changes and stops being God's mission and becomes our mission. Because of our limited understanding, or our church's mission instead of it being God's mission.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably then link the two. It's also important for us to note not only Jonah's worldview, but even the worldview of the other people that were with him in the ship.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Remember, when we encounter then this scenario, it will appear like these people were so religious, but everyone was believing in a different God. Yes. So then there's this discussion about where could this be coming from? So they've got a certain worldview about God or about gods. That, right, number one, that each environment has a particular God who's got dominion over that.
Yeah, the God of the sea.
There's the God of the land, there's the God of the sea. So now they're in the middle of the sea, then there is the storm. So the God of the sea must be angry with something or someone within the ship. So that's a worldview. And imagine, coming back to the issue of fears, imagine now you have got to preach to people who have got a different worldview.
It becomes
that's something that can also be a cause for certain fears. Will I be able to explain maybe my God in the manner that they will understand, considering that they have a different perspective altogether about God? But coming back then to this, their worldview. Now, these gods must be appeased so that the storm comes down. And Jonah finds himself in that particular environment. And for a while, he seems, of course, he does well at the beginning to proclaim about how powerful his God is, and he's running away from. But I'm worried about then his solution. Says, throw me into the sea. I mean, what would have been wrong with Jonah confessing and praying to God and allowing God to deal with the issue the way he could? I think because if you read about the worldview of these people, that belief that the God needed to be appeased, and then Jonah then wants to be thrown into the sea. Of course, after having confessed. I do not know whether he, at that particular point, he really believed that God will do the miracles in the sea, but God will even do the miracles before he is thrown in there. So I get to a point where then somehow he seems to be trying to play the middle of the road. There is this other worldview, there is his own worldview, and he is trying to play a balancing
so you are saying you can please,
which could be a compromise to an extent. But maybe just the other misunderstanding that seems to be coming out from there. It's according to the author, there says it could be that salvation, the focus of salvation is then not centered around God, but around what we can do, which is a misunderstanding of how God operates. And then it also then seems then to trivialize his power and make everything about us instead of being about him.
God. So Jonah's worldview was centered on his ability to convert. So in other words, he was saying, I can't go there.
Yes, because
I know.
Because he knew by his own power he may not be able. So it was like it's about him and not about God. So that worldview about God in Jonah was a challenge.
So according to Jonah, it's I cannot convert these people. They are so evil on whatever reasons that he gave. So that's what he's saying, that his worldview was centered on his ability. Now, there's something that I want us to comment together about worldviews. I want us to rush to the end of the story. When Jonah is preached, his worldview that was that when God says, I'm going to destroy, he should do what he has said. And then he suffered twice. First, he suffered because he ended up going via the belly's fish, the fish belly, the fish belly. And then later on, he also suffered by distress. He was stressed because God didn't do what he had promised. Becky, have you ever suffered because of your wrong view about God?
I can immediately maybe bring it to mind where I have suffered because of my view of God. It would be a different story. What I think I've suffered would probably be a story reinforcing a different thing altogether. But maybe what I can say from the ongoing is that I feel that Jonah knew. I don't think his fear was so much that these people might not convert. But I think he knew that the people would. And he didn't want them to. Because he had already,
I think that's
for them,
the way of,
he had already for them a fire burning with sulfur and brimstone stored for them somewhere, that God would one day rain upon these people, because these people have disobeyed. They've not disobeyed God, but they've disobeyed us, God. You see, they've disobeyed us, God. I think he assumingly put himself higher than where he was. He put himself on a higher pedestal than where a mere missionary should place himself in this whole matrix of God's mission and the use of missionaries. I hope I'm making that come out clear. And then secondly, I want to commend Jonah for one thing.
Yeah.
He was different from us in that Jonah proclaimed outright that, no, I'm not going to be part of this thing, God. Because I know that this thing is going to pan out like, you see, I do this, you will do this, and then these people will have this result coming. But for many of us, I don't think Jonah made excuses. I think Jonah gave compelling reasons. And the reasons were true. That if I go and preach to those people, you are going to save those people. And Jonah was declaring, I don't want that kind of thing. But for many of us, we make excuses, because very rarely, if ever we do, do we say we are not going to take part in mission. Because we have so many reasons. It's just that I'm at work, so I can't go and take part.
But also Jonah chose where he wanted. Going to mission, I don't know what he was going to Tarshish, but I think living, he was okay with living. But he wanted to choose his audience. And I sometimes see us do
very often we do want to choose our audience for selfish reasons more than for
there's a week we're not going to be talking about our neighbors, and sometimes we choose what we call neighbors.
So maybe we might.
So sometimes I think
I can share personal.
We choose our audience and preach to them because we think there's hope there.
So at times it's on a personal note. At times it's on a corporate scale. I will illustrate the point. I've personally had the opportunity of being involved in evangelistic missions. And I've also had the opportunity of sitting down in committees planning these missions, these missionary activities. So I'll try and balance the act. As a missionary, you are sent for an evangelistic mission in what we call unentered territories. So, and then hindsight to what happens in the committees planning this. There are statistics. There are targets. Specific targets to be met. We expect to baptize 100 people, and this is an unentered area. You're supposed to go, and you are supposed to make sure
That you baptize.
That 100 people are baptized out of that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong about, because in every investment you invest resources, you need to have targets.
Yeah.
But at times the way we emphasize on the targets, they tend to put the pressure on the missionary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you of course, you have to trust and believe that God will help you achieve that. And will help the achievement of the mission. But I've had an opportunity again of sitting in the review meetings.
And where you think you have not done well.
And where the general perception is that we did not do as much as we had intended.
Because you are looking at baptism.
And the whole thing then at times turns around and you've had maybe sentiments like, no, the preacher maybe was weak. This is now way.
I think I've heard he delayed to introduce some of the key subjects. So
yes, he didn't make a call up to the third session or something like.
Yeah.
Too many things then turn around to be about the preacher. So that on its own, there's an aspect of worldview that we could be missing. That the preacher's role is to go and spread the message, and God does the conversion. And then also that when we have done what we could, humanly possibly what we could have done, let's also, as much as we take a collective responsibility, even when the results are out, let's collectively own the outcome.
Okay, all right. Before.
Yeah, I think this is really.
This is interesting.
I need
we want
to
progress, but
I want us to get the key points. Then we move on to what he's saying. I think what is coming from the lesson is that at the back of our mind, let's remember. Let's not fall into the predicament that Jonah found himself in. To think that we have got the power to convert. We are supposed to do what we can, humanly speaking, and leave the rest to God. Let's not put ourselves
under
God's
pressure.
shoes.
Under pressure, or in God's shoes, where we then want to do the preaching and the conversion as well, because we fall into a trap. And unfortunately, we may suffer where we think we are powerful, but people are not responding. But we have told ourselves that
because when
you
we
guys
really,
are itching. I don't know why you are.
When we really look at it now, Jonah's shortcoming
I've got 15
was
minutes.
an activity.
Yeah.
It was God's focus was on activity.
Okay.
And Jonah's focus was on results.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, we are supposed to be actively doing what God has. Because what is it that was wrong with when we look at Jonah's story? Where is the wrong? The wrong is in him refusing to go and do what he was asked to do. And that is where our shortcoming is. And whenever we are doing now, we then even put the pressure on ourselves of saying, this is the outcome that we want. But at the end of the really bottom line in all that we're supposed to be doing in mission, and it takes me back to the Sabbath school reports that we many a times just glance over and really don't give a lot of thinking to.
Yeah,
because activities are what we are supposed to be doing.
I hear you, but I want us also to bring out the flip side.
Okay.
So that you and me and the viewers can balance it up.
Okay.
Because sometimes we also find ourselves doing it because we want to tick boxes. I'm not disputing what you're saying about results.
Yes.
Where in our planning we're supposed to do an evangelistic campaign, and we have got a box where we then say, done. Did we invite a group? Done. Yes. Did we make flyers? Done. Did we bring a PA system? Done. Without looking at what is more effective. So the planning that you was talking about, where you're sitting, at least they are sitting to plan. But sometimes we don't plan because we are looking at the activity. So I'm looking at the flip side. So it's also about the results, but we should know that we are not, we are responsible for the results to a certain extent.
Yes.
Because
there is a human effort.
So,
and then okay.
So I'll commend Jonah once again for knowing. Because I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding the text. And there's room for that. It's a learning process.
Okay.
But I want to commend Jonah for knowing and believing that God is able to bring about certain results.
Okay.
And his refusal to partake in this mission was because he knew that if he allowed himself to be a vessel, God would definitely bring about these numbers.
He will do his God thing.
Yes, he would do his
God thing of forgiving.
In our case, many a time, we find ourselves, if I were to take Kobe's example, we find ourselves using that verse that says, there's rejoicing in heaven
where there is one.
Where there is one. More out of some kind of sanctimonious piety than out of a firm belief that
this is what.
Yes, this is the one soul that has been converted is glory, all glory to God. Because often mission is not about God, but it's about the missionary. And I think we miss it. The missionary is not able to convert even one person, but the missionary is able to place themselves at the disposal of God, who then converts.
All right, I want us to go back to excuses. I know we can get excited about other things, but I would just to make a comment on what you have just said, that it's also, so when God invites you to get into mission, he is working the mission field and the missionary.
Yes.
So sometimes we focus on the mission field. But from this story, I think we learned that the missionary himself was working probably more than the mission field.
Exactly.
Because we read when God confronts him again. So God confronts him when he called him the first time. He met him again
after the sheep
in the belly. And then after the results, he comes again and confronts him. And Jonah was complaining now that what you have promised, you have not done. How do we find ourselves being disappointed by the results in our today? He spoke about where we thought we would baptize many, then we baptize a few.
So we often find...
Or we baptize children when we want the elders. We want to set up a church and look here, there are only kids that are being baptized. What are some of the disappointments that we've seen, and how does our worldview or whatever contribute to that?
So for me, I would say, I would link it still to what I've been hammering on still. To say that our disappointment is as a result of our failure to appreciate that this process is more in God's control than it is in man's control. So whoever is baptized after I have played to the fullest my part in humble submission to God is the best thing that can come out of this whole missionary endeavor. I should desist from creating my own picture of what success looks like and try to stick to the picture that God has of what success would look like. I think that also would act as an encouragement to many of us, myself included, who have battled with fears many a times and come up with excuses. If I were to know that God has called me to be an instrument, to be a vessel for his use, if I go and no one is converted, and I have given it my best shot, whether corporately or individually, I have done well. And I think also even for the viewers, don't shy away from speaking your God. Even if the people that you speak to still shun him and make a trifling out of him. Just go on.
So sometimes, maybe someone wants to comment before I...
Yeah, because I'm looking at Jonah's response there. As a prophet of God, and I think there was a lot of transformation of his own personal transformation that had to take place. Though of course the story doesn't go beyond God showing him where his weakness was. As a prophet, I think he believed that he was a prophet for Israel only. But God wanted him to be a prophet who goes beyond the boundaries of Israel. Because when you look at his response now, his depression after the pardoning of the people of Nineveh, and the object lesson that God gives him there of the bush that then withers, and then he weeps over it. He says, how could you not weep over the hundreds of thousands of people that are in here? But you are weeping over a tree that you had nothing to do with in the first place. So at the end of the day, God had a mission that he wanted specifically Jonah to perform.
So sometimes from what we are commenting, I think we we, like Jonah, want to tell sinners how sinful they are so that they die knowingly.
Yes. So
And
that,
when they seem to be living our sin, or whatever that they are doing, we become so disturbed. It's just like when we have preached and there are so many baptisms, and you know probably you're an elder and you see 60 men that are coming into the church. And the only reason why you were an elder is because there were no other men, and you become very disturbed.
Your position is threatened.
Exactly the aspect that I wanted to bring of inconvenience. That as much as one of my colleagues said that one of the fears that Jonah had was that if he preached, people would be converted.
Yeah.
The times were really not comfortable with the people turning to the Lord, because at times those numbers then can really shake our comfort zones.
Yeah.
And all we want is to maintain the status quo.
Okay.
So it goes back to, it calls for introspection that as a church, as missionaries, are we really comfortable with people turning from their wicked ways and accepting the Lord as their Savior?
Yeah.
Do we want them as co-workers in this vineyard, or who are comfortable being the torch bearers and kind of assuming glory out of that?
Out of that, yeah. So sometimes we own God to the extent of not willing to share the God that we own as Israel with the Ninevites.
Yeah. Because there's a tendency now, after they've come in, for us to dwell on their past.
Okay.
That on its own is showing us that we are not really fully committed to them being part of the family.
I want us to read Isaiah as we get to the climax. So what we are getting here, I think you mentioned the issue of inconveniences, and also the issue of sacrifices. Sometimes we are ready to go to mission, but as long there's this group that sang a song, I think it's called Few Good Men, that says, "I'll go and preach, but let me finish my PhD first. I will go to and preach, but send me to a better city." We choose our mission, and we also are afraid when mission seems to be crossing our paths. It's just like God calls you to go and preach, and it's winter, and you are thinking, I can go another time, but not in winter. So I think when God, one of the excuses that we gave is God is inconveniencing me, or I cannot sacrifice my children's money or my children's comfort for the sake of mission. Okay, I want us to look at Isaiah chapter 6, which was in our memory text, but we'll read verse 1 to verse 8 quickly. Then we can bring this together.
Mine is the New Living Translation. Verse 1 to 8, you said?
No, verse.
Is it verse 1 to 6, verse 1 to 8, yes.
6, verse 1 to 8.
Yeah, that's quickly.
So the New Living Translation, it reads, verse 1, it was in the year King Uzziah died that I saw the Lord. He was sitting on a lofty throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Verse 2, attending him were mighty seraphim, each having 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. Verse 3, they were calling out to each other, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of heaven's armies. The whole earth is filled with his glory.
Okay.
Verse 4, their voices shook the temple to its foundations, and the entire building was filled with smoke. Verse 5, then I said, it's all over. I am doomed, for I am a sinful man. I have filthy lips, and I live among a people with filthy lips. Yet I have seen the King, the Lord of heaven's armies.
Okay.
Verse 6.
Then verse 8.
Verse 8.
Yeah.
Verse 8, then I heard the Lord asking, whom should I send as a messenger to these people? Who will go for us? I said, here I am, send me.
Okay, initially you mentioned the difference between these two prophecies.
Yes.
From the analysis of this chapter quickly, what could have brought the difference between Isaiah and Jonah? For Isaiah to say, here am I, send me, and for Jonah to say, here am I, send me somewhere else.
Well, it's the personal experiences and encounter with God.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't want to sound as if I'm saying Jonah didn't have an encounter with God.
Yeah. But the object lesson that we get from...
Yes, that the way we are called at times, it's so vivid that we get the calling first time.
Yeah.
And at times it takes you to go through certain experiences to understand what the message and the calling that's coming to you is.
Yeah.
If you look at Jonah, there's we were talking about uncomfortable confrontations.
Yeah.
He could have been willing, but he was not comfortable. And this mission is not about personal comfort.
Yeah.
At times you've got to sacrifice.
Okay, I will stop you there.
I think...
It's a different question for you.
Oh, all right. Okay. I was about to answer that one.
We're looking for the answers to that one.
This one is covered.
Okay.
I will make a comment on it when we finish. There's something that I want to read to our viewers.
Okay.
How can we overcome our fears? In 3 lines.
It's as we see what God has done for others who have gone to mission.
Okay. Okay.
Because unless we look at that history, we will feel like there is no evidence of God's winning on our behalf.
So the story of Jonah is an object lesson for us to learn.
It's an object lesson for us, yes.
In one word, what would you say?
To the same question?
Yes.
Okay. I think being fully devoted to God's mission and knowing that this is about God, I am just a small part within this machine that is working.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for helping our viewers to have this. Just a quick comment on the story of Isaiah. So we need to experience Jesus, so that when we tell others of what we have experienced.
Yeah.
Some of our excuses is probably we have not met him.
Yeah.
We have not experienced him.
Yeah.
Then I want to read this challenge for this week that is in our study guide. So for our viewers and all of us, this quarter we are moving with challenges that we can practically implement. So on a list of paper, list some acquaintances, people that you are not very close to, and write down their name, and for the rest of the quarter, we want to be praying for those people and try to get close to them. Secondly, think of a city or a place that has not been entered. Pray for that place that God may have a Jonah go to that place. To complete our lesson, I'll ask Gwebu to pray for us.
You forgot to say no excuses after that. Shall we pray? Our gracious Father in heaven, we thank you for the lesson that was before us. We thank you for the deliberations and the insights that we got. And we pray that you will give us understanding and discerning minds and hearts that will discern your mission to us and help us to be willing servants and heed your call. And help us also to live with according to the vocation with which you have called us. And when all is said and done, we be found worthy of the heavenly kingdom, for you have prayed in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.